You're listening to Common Sense and Beer, where we talk about heavy-hitting topics and with a beer in hand. And this is a special New Year's episode. I'm your host, Kyle.
And I'm Zach, and we are joined with special guest here,
Duane.
If you could hold the mic up a little bit closer to your mouth there.
I'm doing this podcast without any training, people. So if I offend somebody or hurt somebody,
look at me.
A little bit closer.
Put it.
Oh, even
There
closer.
you go.
Yeah, you got to
Really
have
close.
Talk to the top of the mic. The top of the mic.
Okay.
Even closer than that.
No.
Like you're looking at the
Not your
head of
hand.
a. You're looking at a head of a something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that helps a lot.
Yeah, if you're looking at the head of a something,
Yeah.
you want the head of the something to be close to your lips.
These are the things that we had to learn when we started this thing. So, but yeah, introduce yourself. Tell us, what you're all about, what you do, if you want to, just whatever you're uncomfortable with.
Okay. So I am Duane. Of course, I am Zach's father. And I am in town from the Baltimore, Delmarva region, that I'm here for a Christmas visit. And I jumped at the chance to come and do this podcast because I see all the podcasts out there and everything and people making millions of dollars. So I am on the ground level of all of us making millions of dollars.
There you go.
Absolutely.
There
That
you
sounds
go.
great to me, too. I'm glad to
Optimism,
hear it.
bringing in the new year with optimism. I like
Absolutely.
it. So, we talked. We thought we would do a little bit of a recap on everything we've covered thus far in the year, and we like to do the heavy hitting topics. So, we'll start out. What do you want to start with, Kyle?
Well, I figure, we can start from just the pilot episode where we kind of introed just ourselves and then introed into inflation affecting our daily lives here because it's not getting really better as much as I'd like to tell you it is.
Yeah.
So, that kind of brings me in here. You're from that casino-rich area, that great liberal bastion of America. Have you seen the inflation? I mean, because I imagine it's a lot more expensive in Baltimore than it is around here already.
I grew up here, and I'm from here. Everyone asks me where I'm from. I'm from here. But I've lived out there for 8 years, and, a lot of, prices and things, rent in general. Some things are more expensive, but other things are like almost exactly. But especially inflation wise, it's ungodly. Me personally, I don't even like going to the grocery store anymore. I sit home. I work nights. As you know, I work in the casino business, and I work nights and I sleep during the day. Most of the time, unless I really got something to do, I stay in the house now because every time I go out of the house, it's $100,
Yeah.
And as you know, $100 bills just don't fall off of trees anymore.
Yeah.
So that's just my personal thing because every time I go out, I like to do a lot of different things.
What are gas prices like over there compared to over here?
I think they're a little more expensive out there. I know, I want to say when I filled up, it was like $3.41.
Oh, wow.
When I left there, but that wasn't like a discount anything.
Yeah.
It was just a gas station in my little town that I live in. I think it was actually an Exxon. So
Okay. I know gas prices have gone down over the last couple months, but I mean we're a lot cheaper here on the in the what many would call the butt crack of Wisconsin. We're at what are we at, like 279, 269, 279. So Illinois, I know the further you get down into Illinois, the more expensive it gets, it seems. But
Yeah, it's definitely a strange line. Some things are more expensive on one side, and other things are cheaper.
Yeah.
It's just you gotta. It almost switches too on a year-to-year basis.
yeah, oh yeah, yep.
No,
So-
generally, when I do come here, gas is a lot cheaper. I want to say 50 cents or less normally. a gallon every time I come here, which is, a few times a year. It just depends on the situation. It might be 3 or 4 times a year.
Sure.
But normally gas is a lot cheaper here than it is there.
Yeah.
Being close to Washington, D.C. and,
Woof.
different things out there, I'm sure that's why it's more expensive out there.
Sure. Yeah, we in our first episode, me and Kyle talked, had a decent conversation about the price of groceries. It's funny that you brought that up because that was the biggest thing. I'd buy a four meals for a week, and it was $200. That wasn't with anything extra.
Right.
It was $200. Where, just a year ago, if you were to get the same stuff, it would have been right around $100. Like, things have almost doubled.
Yeah.
And so that inflation is really hitting people hard.
Yeah, and I think it really hits the hardest on the products that are like the ready to make meals that are the convenience foods that a lot of people are just throwing together. People live the fast and loose lifestyles that they depend on those things. I feel like those got hit the hardest, and it was almost like because you always know how the organic foods and everything that was advertised that way was always just more expensive than everything else, and it kind of seems like the inflation brought the normal price goods up to those organic level goods. So it's like in one aspect, you're almost better off just switching to that food now. I don't know if that was like maybe an intention, but it's like that's what we've done just because it's like, well, we're just going to buy the better quality food now.
Yeah, why not?
Because you're spending almost as much as it is anyways. I'd rather just spend the extra $1 or $2.
Yeah, you're telling me that I'm going to get a product where I know every single ingredient in it is not going to kill me, and it's only 50 cents more. Why wouldn't you take it?
It's still going to kill you.
Well, just
everything
a little slower.
Yeah,
there's not as much as the poison.
Right.
Yeah.
Me being a little older than all of y'all, or however you want to say it, I personally find myself the stores that I used to look down upon, Aldi especially is one of them. Out there, they have a grocery store chain called Lidl, Lidl. It's like Aldi's; they have their own name brands, but I find myself going there more often because it is so much cheaper. Just a little thing I kind of discussed my lifestyle. I work nights. I sleep during the day. I pretty much am single. That's a whole nother thing. But I basically plan meals for myself and only myself and whatever. So bachelor food. So pizza is my mainstay. But things like that you go to, like ice cream sandwiches. That's another thing. Ice cream sandwiches, pizza. Different things like that, like soup, lunch meat, whatever, just kind of your basics, bread or everything. It is so much cheaper at those stores, especially, of course, frozen pizza. I mean, if you get it here, there, wherever, not on sale, say it's Tombstone, the upper end brands. I mean, Wisconsin is on a different level of frozen pizza, which people still don't understand. But it went from, I used to sell pizza back in the day. I had a pizza route. I sold out of a truck. I sold delivered to grocery stores. And I remember having sales 5 for $10 and things like that. Now it's $10 a pizza for a frozen pizza. If you just go to the store, get a Tombstone, DiGiorno, whatever, Rising Crust, a kind of a premium brand, it's $10.
Yep.
And that to me is absolutely insane. So to go along with that, if by shopping at the stores that don't have the name brand or whatever, I mean, I personally see the savings a lot. I'm not poor by any means or destitute or whatever, and I don't have to watch the pennies. But when I go to the grocery store, what used to cost me $30, $40, maybe $50 now costs $100 to $150. The same exact stuff. I mean, 3-4 pizzas and some soda, some water, toilet paper, whatever, nothing elaborate, no steaks or anything like that, now costs me minimum of $100.
Yep.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Which is insane. And then that goes along with everything else, the gas, the insurance, everything for your cars, your vehicles, whatever. And I don't know about you guys, but I work in the casino industry, and our whole casino, whatever, they're like, everyone the max is going to be 3% raise this year, 3.5% raise, I think was the max. And they have to post what our casino makes, and it's public knowledge, whatever. And I wanted to say, when we did our annual reviews, I think in October, in the month before, our particular casino made like 60 some million profit in the month prior to that. So how do you explain giving your employees a 3% rate? It's just, there's no way for it to catch up with the price of everything.
Right.
I mean, realistically, I think across the board, everyone should get, 20% raise, something like that makes it able to keep up with the inflation, because there's just no way that any of us can keep up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so sad.
Yeah, the current it is really sad. That's just it, because we used to do our grocery shops, like we'd hit like one major kind of restock trip, get a lot of the just everything you'd need, kind of rebulk everything else, and then we do weekly of like the fresh stuff, our fruits, veggies, meat, whatever we were doing for the week. We'd go to luckily that's another cool thing about the Midwest, we have lots of butcher shops. You can just go and get meat, so we don't get hit by that grocery store meat inflation prices, which the grocery store meat kind of sucks anyway. So
yeah,
again, kind of like it's better to eat this other meat anyways.
There's a definite difference between the two for sure.
Yeah, it's cloned, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So but it's just, we used to be able to have it figured out, and it's just to a point now where it's like, man, you almost just have to bulk shop. It's like you just either get in at one of those bulk grocery stores, and you're just figuring that out, where you're doing certain things one week and then certain other things the next paycheck or whatever, however you got to figure it out. But you got to, there's different, what I'm saying is it just threw a rock into the plans of, like, we were able to do it one way because of how the prices were, and now because of the way prices are, it's like it's just not sustainable to do it that way anymore.
Yep.
And it does really suck when it's, I mean, these holiday meals, they're big feasts, and then you need a lot of ingredients, and a lot of these things used to, it made more sense, and now it almost makes more. We're looking at, well, should we go get our prime rib and all our ingredients for our sides, or should we just do the Cracker Barrel catering holiday feast?
Yep,
it's cheaper, and we get and Cracker Barrel sides are amazing.
It used to
can't compete with them.
It used to be completely the opposite. Right, there were families where you'd be like, "Oh, you got something catered in for your Christmas dinner?
Yeah, right.
No way. How can you afford that?"
Right, and now it's like, well, that's almost the cheaper way to go.
It absolutely is. I mean, food quality in a lot of these places has gone down, but at the same time, if it's cheaper to feed your family that way, and on top of that, you don't have to spend the time doing the work, people are going to gravitate towards that because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I don't really remember what else we talked about in that pilot episode. We got real big into the inflation talks, but
we talked about education too.
Oh yeah.
We talked about education among our children. You may not know, but Kyle here, him and his wife actually homeschool their kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so we kind of talked about the differences, between public schools and homeschooling and stuff. So we kind of talked about how these days there's a lot of stuff that's being pushed in our education system from a lot of public schools that are so much different than even what we were taught. Things like a lot of inclusion stuff, which can be very good, and it can also be very bad. But we also talked about how the government themselves have kind of overreached into our schooling and stuff too.
Yeah, where they kind of took over the authority. Like, you can trust the government. They've been kind of implanting that seed of taking over from the family authority for a while. You just kind of see the decay. And then you really saw it during COVID on full display, and it's like, man, it's bad. So.
Yeah, during. Well, what do you think? What do you think about the education system nowadays? Good, bad, or otherwise?
Again, I think it's personally, it's brutal, horrible. I mean, they don't teach anybody anything. I think that applies. Like back in my day, even though I'm not proactive, but they did teach us how to balance a checkbook, and we had like fake checkbook registers and all this stuff. Same with like some tax forms and things like that we had to go through. But now, I see people, kids identifying as a furry, and the school has to provide a
litter box,
and things like that, and then kids needing mental timeouts and safe spaces and all that stuff. And I just feel that society, has changed so much. And
would you say it's gotten softer?
Yeah, I mean, I would say babying these people, people aren't resilient. I was in the sink or swim, if you didn't do it or whatever. I mean, I had the principal spank me many times when I was a kid. I remember, he had a board of education, and it was hanging right on the wall.
Yeah.
And, when you went into there to talk to the principal, he closed the door and closed the blinds and
whacked you a couple times.
Yeah, and called you every MFer or whatever.
Sexually or no?
No, not sexually.
No,
it was non-arousal. And I personally, as I've gotten older, I've never even entertained the fact of getting beat on for pleasure.
This is going off the rails real quick.
Yeah,
I agree.
But
though,
that's the way it
that.
was, and we didn't. And I guess, possibly some of the, especially the younger days when I was in school. I mean, yeah, there was trauma, and we got bullied, and we got beat, and I got chased by groups of kids and got my ass kicked. But then when I got older, I kind of did the ass kicking too, and I was the bully at different times.
So you were beating on people?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it was. Things kind of changed back and forth. But I grew up in a small town, 1,300 people. There wasn't any like gang activity and all that kind of stuff.
It was just kids being kids.
Right, right.
Young teenagers being. So, I know that I know it's handled differently than even when I was in school, but the whole, kids getting rough with each other and the bullying and stuff. Today it's
zero tolerance.
Yeah, zero tolerance. You don't, even if someone's hitting you, you don't defend yourself. You just go to the nearest teacher and tell them. Was that kind of the rule back then, or was it not even spoken? It was just
most of the time. If I had a problem with you and you had a problem with me, we duked it out. It was, and everyone just kind of stood back and watched. I can't even remember how many fights that I saw was just between two guys fighting it out.
Yeah.
And we all just kind of just watched, and whoever won, people shook each other's hands or whatever. And it wasn't like this where I see nowadays where a group of 8 or 10 people attack one person, even if that other person started it or whatever. It was basically just one-on-one mostly. Yeah. Again, I grew up in a small town, and I always say in Wisconsin, and that's kind of the way it was. And you know, we didn't have any of this stuff. You know, we were showing these World Star videos and all this stuff, all this violence and stuff. There was no need for any of that, because most of the time, if I had a problem with you and we would just fight it out. Either it would be physical or it wouldn't, or whatever, and that was pretty much the end of it.
Yeah.
Me getting a group of friends together, let's go grab Joe and beat his ass. It just never happened in my era, in my school. You know, right. I'm sure it did happen, but I know none of us identified as a furry or transgender, or
that was definitely
we needed a safe place or anything.
The safe place was at home, and even then, you had to worry about your parents getting on you.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, So I mean, the education system stuff kind of, you know, seems like it's evolved, and then the zero anti-bullying policy, it's really kind of turned things into a soft. And then you get the reverse effect where now the people who should be bullied are the bullies. It kind of seems like, and they're the ones in charge, and it's kind of like a new reign of terror, if you will.
Mm-hmm. I remember the whole bullying thing. You know, most of the time, the bullies, the people that were bullying others, were the ones that got bullied the worst. You know, 2 years prior.
Yeah, that, or they, you know, a lot of the bullies, like the savage ones, at least had issues at home.
Right.
You know, generally.
Yeah.
A lot fatherless home, probably.
Yeah. Well,
you know?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's that. You know, I think that's another thing that you can attribute this education system that we're seeing nowadays is responsibility from the parents. You know. I think that there's a lot of parents out there that are just getting softer themselves, and they expect that the school is going to, they themselves are producing something in their children where they don't have to take responsibility for things. It's the teacher's responsibility to, make sure that they get an A. There's no responsibility on the kids anymore. And honestly, sometimes you can't even blame the kids at some point. You can't even blame the kids because they're not being shown personal responsibility by their parents. So why would they at school?
Well, and they weren't taught it in school either, because
that's
the discussion of we weren't shown. The only reason, if you were shown to balance a checkbook, it's because you took an accounting class in high school.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that was usually offered later on. That wasn't even like an intro type class.
No, yeah.
And that's how you learned any sort of financial responsibility at all. I don't think there was any, there's a political compass test. Beyond that, there's nothing taxes wise. They really set you up for failure. They kind of set you off in the world and are like, good luck. So it's not, it's kind of like a two-pronged, a multi-pronged nuanced attack here, because it's like the attack on the family unit, fatherless homes, all these things play into it, but it's all pushed into this education system too.
Well, yeah, I mean they all intermingle. We've talked about how we talked about how convenient it would be for a foreign entity to come in here and just try to change the way we live in America, and how detrimental that would be to our being able to defend ourselves or fight in general. And I think, like you said, it's a multi-pronged attack. I think education, family unit, all of those things are things that inherently were ingrained pretty much into the quote unquote American dream. And now there's people leaving this country who fled here to try to get away from their own country. They're going back to their country because they're seeing the things that we're talking about.
A lot of El Salvadorians going back.
Yeah.
Saying it's better there now than it is here.
They flooded in and now they're going back.
Well, the thing I see, especially looking at you, the way you're raising your kids and everything, and not just you specifically, but by the time you get your head...
Careful.
No, I'm not lying. By the time you get your head into your house, you get home from your job, your wife has to work her job, so you're struggling so hard when you finally get home and get with your kids. You're just trying to get some food on the table before bedtime. It just doesn't stop. You guys are beat mentally, physically. By the time you get home, you really don't have time to spend time with your kids doing their homework and things like that because you're beat to already. And it's just getting worse. Your kids are getting older. You both, your job stuff is pulling you farther. I mean, it is tough. It's a lot tougher when I was raising you, whatever, we didn't have any of this, all this outside pressure. And especially as much as I love social media and I'm always on my phone, just like everybody else, that just adds to the dimension of, and I see it in the younger grandkids in my unit here, the way they're talking to you guys and whatever, to this day, I would never even attempt to talk to my parents that way. And they're 5-6 years old, and it's not because they're trying to be mean. I think it's just, they see so much on social media and everything, and you have to stand up for yourself or you're going to get bullied or whatever. And I see it, and it's just very, very disturbing.
Yeah.
And
Are you sure you haven't listened to any of our podcasts? Because you just nailed like 3 items that we've talked extensively about.
Well, it is. And I have a lot of friends, especially I guess I'm at the age where there's a lot of people that are my coworkers or friends that are very like into politics, and it's either Democrat or a Trump hater or whatever. It's like no in between. But they're trying to tell me all this stuff and I'm like, listen, I know politics, because especially working in the casino, in the customer service, any service that you're in, you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion, because you open stuff up that you can't even imagine. And nowadays, that lid gets opened up, especially at work. I just have to excuse myself and check out because I can't, it's just craziness how it just escalates so fast, and people want to argue with you over, in the scheme of things, you and me, all of us sitting in this room, it doesn't matter how you vote or I vote or whatever. It's really not going to change life for us in this room. So I don't want to argue with it. I'd rather,
That kind of brings us to another part of our pilot introductory thing. Is, we kind of saw it as you have so many people that are stuck in their ways. What can we do? We've always talked about what can we do to help society. There's some things we don't want to do, some things we're not good at. But, some things we always did have were really good conversations, and I feel like the opinions we have on things are opinions that a lot of people share, because you see a big mass on social media, and it's like so much of that is manufactured. You can buy all that consent, the sock puppet accounts, the psyop things, but a company can just buy multiple accounts and just spread whatever message they want, bombard whatever, you have all those different agencies that get people followers and whatever else.
Right. And there's no consequences, like you say, it's so easy. These companies can make multiple platforms and whatever, and put this out there and get all these people thinking a certain way. And ethically, I think it's wrong. You shouldn't.
Right. Oh, absolutely, he's wrong.
You have your own opinion about something, and you try to help and whatever, but then, the way it's set up, the left wing and right wing and whatever, and all these messages they're sending out, it's just insane. I just personally, I don't even hardly watch news at all anymore, because I just get
Well, you have to
sick of it. I don't need it.
Yeah, you have to figure out where to get your news from, if it's credible or not. And Denzel Washington actually had a quote on it was a video of him at the red carpet, and a reporter was asking him about something political, and he says, "Well, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed."
Right.
And then he turns it back on the reporter and he says, "What a responsibility you have to keep the American people," it's like, yeah, that's spot on. Anymore nowadays, that's exactly it.
They're just propaganda rags.
Yeah,
now.
you never know if the news source that you're getting your news from is actually credible. You see something on social media, you have no idea. You have no idea. And so, and it's funny that you bring that up.
Zach,
What's up?
are you talking about this clip?
We'll play it. We'll see.
We're here in D.C. There's been a lot of buzz about this fake news. You were the subject of a fake news story.
Oh, yeah, what'd they say? I was running for president? No, I
you
voted.
were running for
No, what'd they say?
You switched your support.
I switched
from
the,
Hillary to Trump.
yeah.
What do you make of all the fake news and it affects
If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed.
So what do you do?
That's the great question. What is the long-term effect of too much information? One of the effects is the need to be first, not even to be true anymore. So what a responsibility you all have to tell the truth, not just to be first, but to tell the truth. We live in a society now where it's just first. Who cares? Get it out there. We don't care who it hurts. We don't care who we destroy. We don't care if it's true. Just say it, sell it. Anything you practice, you'll get good at.
What an American
big.
hero.
Including BS.
You know what? That kind of reminds me of a recent event with the Hamas-Israel stuff. When they bombed that hospital.
Oh, the hospital, yeah.
New York Times ran with a picture of a bombed-out building that we all assumed was a bombed-out hospital. Come to find out, it landed in the parking lot, and a couple people were injured. But no building was massively leveled, and all that other street propaganda, all those films of people being rushed into the ERs were all fake.
Yeah.
The New York Times did that to us. Our own supposedly credible institutions, these pillars, if you will, and they're just completely out there just lying to us. And they don't even care that they're doing it.
Just
and the worst
outright,
part is
yeah.
they're gaslighting us every time they do it.
Yeah. 100%. That's what it is. It's just to get people mad. That's what it is.
Well, yeah. I feel like you import the third world. You make things very hostile with the local populace. You foment civil war, and then the whole world's doing this at the same time. And then you can come in with the UN peacekeepers, and then now you've got a global world order, if you will.
Yep. Yeah. And what's interesting too is this all kind of ties into you touched on social media a little bit. That was one episode that we did a lot on, and I actually really liked that episode. I think I really liked that conversation. Technology nowadays is destroying. Well, that was the question: is it destroying kids' brains? You hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, social media is inherently bad for kids," and all of this, and we talked about how, well, every generation has had something like that. At first it was the radio, kids shouldn't be listening to the radio because of this or that. Or then it was the TV, the screens will rot their brains, stuff like that. And now we have the internet and social media and stuff.
10-second content.
Yeah, we
injections.
I'm sure you've seen TikTok or the Instagram Reels or whatever. The attention spans of kids. I talked about my oldest. She'll watch a video. If it's anything over 10 seconds, she'll skip on to the next one. I mean, with a kid like that,
thing to be built in.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. We're a 10-second attention span on something visual. We're not even talking about reading a book. We're talking about something that's so easy to do. Just visualize what's happening on the screen. And they can't last longer than 10 seconds without having to move on to the next.
And you want to do a long format podcast?
Yeah, somebody better start.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of the point though that we're getting to, is that we want people to be able to hold their attention on something that, one, they, that's another thing you touched about too, is everyone being at odds with each other about these political subjects. And one of the reasons that we wanted to do this podcast too is because we need to make that something that is more productive, not necessarily just, people yelling at each other because they have differences of opinion. We want to get to a point where I can have my opinion, you can have yours, we can sit here and talk about it, and at the end of the day, we can still have a beer together, get along, and and once upon a time, that's the way it was, and it's not like that anymore. And it's, we've talked about this several times. A lot of times, a lot of it is because of social media. A lot of it is because of people being told, when we were in school, we were always taught that you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion, because it just stirs up problems. And what a good way to silence an entire generation. You're not learning from others why they think the way they think. You're not learning their perspective on an issue that many people are passionate about. You're not learning their side of it, and therefore you have no contention on your point of view on things. And you live in your echo chamber of political views, and you never get challenged on it. So you're really just completely ignoring another side of an argument. And so that's one of the things that we really wanted to, stress on this podcast. We're actually wanting and scouting out people that outright disagree with us on certain subjects, to have them on and have the beer with us and go talk about this stuff. So yeah.
And I got to say too, the TikTok thing and these like 10-second clout videos and all these like shorts and everything else, they kind of spawn that degeneracy, that disrespectfulness. Because I've seen it in family, friends, and other people, where they get like little kids to like dance to the rap videos, and they're doing dance moves that are just highly inappropriate, but they all think it's funny. And then it's like this little kid's growing up in this degenerate world where she thinks all this is good now from such a young age. Like I saw another young child, she disrespects her father, like calls him by his first name, and get over here, and just
the whole bro thing, bro, and everyone's. I saw some stuff on it today. You remember when your daughter used to call you mom? Now she calls you bro. Yeah, and it's like what?
Man, no, my son did that, and I was like, well, listen.
My daughter, no. me and my wife actively have to tell our daughters, because they'll come home from school and they call all their friends bruh.
Right.
Yes,
it's like, no, that does not come in here. That does not come in here. Everyone has a name here, and mine is dad or daddy. Those are the only acceptable. Those are the only acceptable ones, and even then,
in that household.
Well, even then,
they're good, a lot better than what I've seen.
Well, it all boils down to respect.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I go to church, I'm Christian, and a lot of people kind of wonder why some of the traditions happen in church. And, a lot of it boils down to respect. If we're going to sit here and worship this being we call God, if we're going to sit here and worship and say that, if he's worth our time to worship, he's worth our time to respect. And so there's things that we do in church that are just a form of respect. For instance, bowing before we go up to by the altar. People are, why do you have to do that? You don't have to do. Why do you have to do that? It's a respect thing.
Right.
If we're gonna spend our over an hour every Sunday to worship, then why can't we be respectful as well? That's what we want to breed into our kids. It's just a respect thing, and people don't. Everyone's so cynical. Everyone's breeding their kids to be so cynical about, adult figures. Which, you could go back and forth on that, because I do get my kids. I do talk to them about being cynical about some things that they're taught, but at the same time, I always tell them to be respectful. you know, if they have something that they disagree with, I always tell them to be respectful, not just outright start yelling or say, I disagree with this, I disagree with that. But you have to stay respectful.
But you are kind of a rarity, because what I see, you know, kids are just running around lawlessly, and their parents have no control over them, nothing. And it's crazy. And, you know, I've traveled. I go to the Philippines every other year, and and like I say, you go over there, and that's a whole different world. I mean, yes, I think Filipinos are like number one in social media. It's insane. But I've been to their schools. I've been to everything, and it's a different dimension of respect. It's not anything. It's not acceptable. I don't know. I don't think they're beating their children behind my back, but it's just a different culture in a different way. I mean, I don't see any of that when I go other places, and you know, but I see it here, especially from the Baltimore area, and being in the casino business, and my interaction with a lot of different cultures. It's insane. I see, especially a lot of single moms talking to their children on FaceTime or whatever, and I see what's on the other end of that phone, and they're calling their mother bro and all this other stuff, and I have to excuse myself. I just can't. I've never bit my lip so much and bit my tongue throughout the day interacting with everybody. You know, it's just the way I was raised, especially with respect and just doing the next right thing. You know, you shouldn't have to tell your child, hey, don't steal. They should know already, because I don't care what race you grew up, what religion you grew up, whatever. Your parents didn't teach you to steal. Your parents didn't teach you to talk back. You know,
debatable,
right? Well,
so yeah,
I mean,
there are some out there,
right,
but a vast
everyone
majority
is taught the difference between right and wrong.
Right.
And if you go up to that stove and you touch it, you're going to burn your finger. So don't do it, you know, and you just learn. But, you know, I just see total lawlessness in a lot of people, the younger, and it just drives me crazy. And then, especially at my job, because I have a lot of experience, I have over 20 years of experience in the casino business, they want to put a suit on me, and I've been on the suit, and they want me to run things, and they want me to be the boss and teach people. No, every time, this is just my experience, every time I just tell somebody just to do their job, you know, do this or don't do that. You know, you're supposed to respect me as your boss. If you want to argue with me or whatever, we can do that in private somewhere else. You don't do it in front of the customers. You don't, you know, and people don't listen. Oh, I'm sick, I need to go home immediately or whatever. Or, you know, they're going to HR and you're picking on them. Either you're sexist, you're racist, you're biased because, you know, this and that. And it has nothing to do with anything. You know, especially being in the casino business, we have a lot of clear-cut procedures that they're not bendable.
Well, they're clearly racist procedures, right?
But say you're in table games, and this is one thing that I go through. When you handle a chip, you reach in the rack and you pay somebody a chip. If you have to scratch your head or, you know, reach in your collar or itch yourself or whatever, you clear your hands. So make sure, hey, Zach doesn't have any chips in his hand because he cleared his hand. So you just walk up to the dealer. Hey, when you go to your body, you got to clear your hands. So the surveillance knows that there's no chips in your hand. And it's happened to me. I'm picking on somebody because I said, hey, you have to clear your hands before you go to your body. Or, it's just one thing that you're ingrained. And these procedures are in place for the decades and decades and decades of people stealing these chips. Because if you can get one chip in your pocket during an 8-hour shift, that's $100. And with money being tight and everything, there's a lot more people willing to take the risk now.
Yeah.
So if I can get away with dropping $100 chip in my bra or in my shirt or something, most of the people, it's worth it. But as being in the supervising whatever, and I tell people, hey, you just have to do a simple thing, clear your hand before you it's your skirt or it's your shoulder, whatever, and then you're picking on them. So these, there's so many things that have a direct result on the way people act now, that you're picking on them or whatever. I mean, there's just, like I say, I could go on for hours about this.
Well, I would agree, though. Like, I'm not rushing towards any sort of supervisory position either. Right. I'm not looking the same reasons that you're spouting.
Right.
I'm not looking to train or teach or hire any of these people, any of my generation. We're horrible. Because like you said, with the rarity, it's like I see that more and more. I used to think it was just common sense that people just knew that they had to work hard to get things, and I thought that's just what people were. We were all in this together, and we knew what needed to be done. And if you didn't want to, you could be, a piece of crap if you wanted to. It's okay. It's America.
Yeah, the American
dream. But you at
dream,
least knew what needed to be done. And a lot of these people were kind of brought into this soft and molded into this weird, soft, safe space. Everything's a microaggression, or everything's got to be racist or sexist or some sort of ist or ism. And then, they've that perpetual victim classhood. And it's like all these things just do not create good people, or at least not good workers, not good, really not good capitalists.
True.
So, I mean, and it's just, I would not want to be in any sort of supervisory position. Although if I was like a company owner and I just had a small staff, I can tell you I would be very strict on hiring people. And I'd be looking for people posting that they're just a patriotic American and they're, it's like, you're hired. I'm not, you just have to be careful on who you're hiring. You got to really look at who it is.
But the thing with social media and all this stuff, okay, say you do have a small company and you want to do whatever, you fire somebody and then they go on social media and this happened to me and this, I mean, this is just my experience from being in the supervisory role, whatever. At that point, you are on the defensive and you are guilty until proven innocent. And it's when we were talking about a lot of these political figures and everything, whoever gets the word out first is what people hear. And then, you're basically guilty before anything happens. So, I don't even know. I just get so frustrated with this whole thing,
Well, it is frustrating. It is absolutely frustrating because there's people like us in this room who just want to go to work, go home, spend time with their families. That's it. And they don't want to be affected by this outside world that is that wants to be so intrusive in all of our lives. It's sad. And these discussions that we have, I think there's a really big importance for it because there's so many people that would discredit what we're saying right now as conspiracy or conspiracy theorists. And, I said outside sources wanting to kill the American dream. You can call it a conspiracy all you want, but the fact of the matter is no one can deny that the government has their hands in our lives more than ever right now. And I think that is a direct correlation to a lot of this stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and things have only gotten more expensive and the way of life has only deteriorated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. There's so many people out there that want to rely on the government for everything. And when you're in a position where you need some sort of aid, I hate that people depend on them so much, because at some point they're going to want all of that stuff back. You know, they do, and they take it back. They just take it back because they just think that they own you.
Yeah, well, they do the aid very smart too. They do the aid in such a way that the moment you get a pay raise, they like cut like $100 off your monthly budget. Even it doesn't add up. Yeah. So it's almost an incentive to lose that job, and now now you're making the max again.
Yep.
They keep you in that program.
Whenever has a government regulation helped the American people?
I'm not sure. I can't name one.
I'm just going on by my experiences 8 to 10 years ago. I found myself unemployed, and I went to do my taxes, and they're like, you need to have all these forms for your health insurance, whatever. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay all the taxes on this stuff.
Yep.
So I'm like, well,
Obamacare.
What am I supposed to do? And like, you have to go to this website, whatever, and then you have health care, and then you won't have to pay all these taxes. And I didn't even really realize it. And like, oh, you qualify for this insurance and this. And the next thing I knew, they sent me a WIC card. And I was on Medicaid or whatever it is. And I didn't even realize, that's not even why I meant to. Back in this day, you were always looked at, oh, you're on WIC and you're on welfare, blah, blah, blah. I basically had no choice, because they were telling me, because I went to the accountant and whatever, like, you can't do this. You have to have health insurance, and, there's basically no excuse why you do this. You have to do this. And I'm like, really? And like, yes, you have to go to this website. And they gave me health insurance. And then here I was, and I the last thing on the world that I wanted to do was go on any type of income or whatever. I still had money in my 401k. I was on unemployment, whatever. But until I went to go do my taxes, that was the farthest thing from my mind.
Right.
And they're like, no, you have to have it. You have
to do this.
Right. And so I ended up doing all that, and not anything that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But after it happened, and then all of a sudden, I didn't even have a copay then. When I had my health insurance, whatever, I had to pay $30, $25 to go see the doctor. Well, when I was on the Obamacare, whatever, nothing. I didn't have to pay anything. I just showed up. And I didn't have a copay. I didn't have any of that.
Right.
And they gave me a food card, and I'm like, I'm a single guy pretty much on my own. I don't need, $1,800 worth of food stamps, whatever. Yeah. And I was giving it to my girlfriend and her family or whatever, and they were helping me go through it, because like, you cannot leave any extra. If you leave $20 extra, if you don't use it all, then they're going to take it from you, and it's going to be a big deal. So you have to use it all. So I did. That whole chain of events forced me to do something that I really didn't want to do.
Well, and that's exactly what I'm saying, is they're incentivizing this kind of stuff. They're incentivizing people to do it, to be more dependent on them. It's like, I don't know how people don't see this kind of thing.
Yeah. And it can be a great program.
Oh, absolutely. For people that need it, we talk about how the government is supposed to serve the people. Okay. And I hear this argument a lot when we're talking about when you're talking about government aid for people. They say, oh, well, the government's supposed to be, good for the people. They're supposed to be able to help the people. Yes, but at the same time, you shouldn't be incentivizing it so much so that people are able to abuse it as much as they do. You know what I mean?
Permanent welfare class citizens now because of it.
And that's insane, because
that means it didn't work.
Right. Absolutely. That's exactly right. Everyone one of the biggest things that all these politicians talk about is the unemployment rate, So, well, yeah. A lot of these people, especially younger kids who don't have much job experience, it's better for them to be on unemployment. They get paid more.
Yeah.
Or even if they don't get paid more, they get paid enough to live life however they want to. when I was unemployed, I was actually unemployed for a solid 3-4 months between jobs. And the only thing that I was required to do was to tell them where I had applied, and they required, I think, three places, each week that I had to report to them that I had applied to. There was one time where they had a workshop that it was mandatory for me to go to. This is 4 months that I was unemployed. There was one mandatory workshop that I had to go to where they taught me how to interview and how to apply for jobs.
Oh.
But it was only one. I mean, I'm sitting here collecting money from the government, free money. I'm not working. For 4 months, you're telling me that I only have to attend once every 4 months in order to get this money? Why isn't everyone doing this? Well, we're finding out. People are doing it.
Yeah.
People are
they're abusing it.
They're taking advantage of it. And what makes that what sucks about that too is that the people that actually need these things, at some point they get looked down upon because they think that those people are all of these other people abusing it. I mean,
it's rough, man.
Yeah, me and my wife had WIC for a little while.
We did WIC.
Yeah, I mean, we had WIC for a little while because my wife was still in college, and I was working just at kind of an okay job, and so it was one of those things where we couldn't afford formula on our own, and so that's why we had it. And it's a good thing that we did, because I can't imagine. I've seen my brother and his wife raise their kids, and the formula, the costs of formula and stuff. I don't know how they did it without WIC, So there's people out there that need it, but unfortunately there's so many people that abuse it. And you're absolutely right. That's a sign that it wasn't done right.
Yeah.
It's absolutely a sign that it wasn't done right. So,
but yeah.
Yeah.
This is the way of government,
Oh yeah.
But well, I think there, if I'm a 25-year-old male and I'm single, whatever, and I go to the doctor once every 5 years because I get it should be my prerogative whether I want to have health insurance or not have health insurance.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I think that's a right
forced.
to my ability to make money, live my life the way I want to do it. And now you're telling me that if I do not have health insurance, which I'm not using, I don't want to use it, I use herbal remedies, whatever, I'm going to get fined every month that I don't have health insurance.
Oh, yeah.
It's
called
and that's
socialism.
Like I say, that led me to go on a program that I didn't even want to or didn't even have any,
It's a damn scam.
So the government's requiring all this stuff, and I guarantee they're the ones benefiting from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's government. I mean, it's socialism. It was implemented socialism, and when it comes down to it, and this is my only opinion on health insurance, is if you're paying for health insurance, I don't care what the cost is. Whatever different providers can cost, whatever, I don't care. That can change, but if you're paying for it, when you go to the hospital, you don't pay a dime because you're paying for that health insurance. That health insurance just covers it. There's no out-of-pocket expenses. That's my opinion on health insurance. That's what it should be like. Because the fact is you're paying all that money. Because, I mean, it's a lot. Mm-hmm. Whether you're working at the workplace where it's heavily discounted, it's still a lot. I mean, it's still $600 a month or so for a family plan.
Well, yeah. And, go ahead. Finish your thought.
That's just it. That's what grinds my gears about insurance. It's like you're already paying so much for this. It's like a slap in the face, the whole deductible. No. I'm paying you such and such X amount of money. You're covering this. You've got your deal worked out with whatever hospital systems that I'm going to, and that's how you've got it figured out. But I'm not paying a bill to the hospital. I pay you. You pay the hospital. That's how I just feel it should work.
Well, yeah, and those the insurance is the reason why things are so expensive. People talk about how they were given a couple of Advil while they were in the hospital, and if they look at an itemized receipt, it costs them $300 for the Advil. And it's like, why? Why? I can go to the store and buy a $10 bottle of Advil and it lasts me months. Why is it costing $300
for 2 pills?
For two Advil, for 2 over-the-counter strength Advil, and I'm getting charged $300. It's because the insurance company is raking in so much money, they can pay the $300. That's why the prices of everything have gone up. Because I can tell you, if we had a system where you paid, you yourself paid for your medical procedures, people would start looking at the receipts more, saying, "Hey, why was this Advil $300? You're going to take that off now because I can go get the bottle, somewhere else cheaper." So, like I said, that's the reason that these things are so expensive, is because of the health insurance market the way it is right now. People wouldn't be paying $300 for Advil if they weren't forced.
How much of the box of tissue, the Kleenex?
Oh yeah,
the box of Kleenex.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
like a $50 box of Kleenex.
Yeah,
right there.
your pee bottle, that you have to cart around with you sometimes when you're, they charge you for that. They charge you. I mean,
it's
come
just the
on,
worst.
it's absolutely ridiculous. And I think this kind of been the theme of the discussion here, is kind of that government overreach.
Welcome to Clown World, everyone.
Yeah, you're telling people that they have to
New Year.
purchase this or that. Yeah, Happy New Year. Yeah, hopefully it gets better
Hopefully
in the
Clown
new year.
World.
Yeah,
Hopefully the election year makes Clown World much more
Don't even.
No.
much more better.
It'll make it worse for at least a little while.
Oh, it's gonna make it so much entertaining though.
Yeah, it's going to be entertaining.
So much to talk about.
But-
I'm looking forward to it.
But you know how when social media, everything says your phone is listening to what you're saying. If you start saying, I have a blue potato, a blue potato, a blue potato, and then I'm going to get ads for blue potatoes on my phone. Well, I don't know. Just today, I don't even know what we were talking about. Whatever, I kind of get all this political stuff, and it's like,
yeah.
where did that come from?
Yep.
And you think about it, whatever you're talking about, and then sometimes within hours,
Oh, yeah.
I get these ads
Yep.
on my phone.
Yeah, the front-facing camera is constantly taking pictures of you guys. Me
Yeah.
too. I mean, they're constantly taking pictures of us.
Well, you
throughout
allow
the
it.
day.
That's the thing.
Not all platforms, like iPhone does it especially.
Yeah. Well, either way, these are things that you agree to. Those terms and conditions that you just scroll through and then put the check mark at the bottom just to install the app. Those are the things that we agree to. No one sits down and reads all of it. And so
who's going
exactly?
And then
that's the
if
point.
you say no, you don't get to use the app.
Exactly.
Right,
That's
right.
yeah. That's exactly the point. And
Does it matter?
right. I mean, we're allowing all of these things, and yeah, if you don't allow it, if you don't allow it, then you can't use whatever platform it is. It's absolutely insane. And actually, speaking of that, I'm glad that you brought up the listening in on. I was at my brother and sister-in-law's today, and he brought to my attention that he got a mailer in the mail for it's called Ipsos, IPSOS Screenwise panel. And it's literally them asking. First of all, they sent a $1 bill with this in the mail. There's a $1 bill. They are asking you to download an app that can screen all of your activity on your phone. They're asking you to download this.
They send it with
as
a dollar?
Yeah, as a survey. It's let's see. It says, we're excited to invite your household to join this Screenwise panel, a consumer research study conducted by Ipsos for Google.
Oh.
We gathered data from people like you to better understand how Americans use media and devices. Please accept the enclosed $1 bill as our thanks for your consideration. So he looks at me and he says,
buck.
yeah, he looks at me and he says, well, here's your next podcast episode. And I said, well, yeah, probably. But it's funny that you bring that up, because this is what's happening. And people, there's people, they give incentives too. What you get for participating: a $5 Amazon gift code for taking a quick survey, over $40 in rewards points for your first month for simply downloading software onto your device.
Just that easy.
Reward points can be redeemed for gift cards or merchandise. Over $600 in reward points your first year. The more you participate, the more reward earning opportunities you will unlock. I mean, it's wow. Right in now. It's right in front of our face. It's being mailed.
It's being mailed to your face.
It's being mailed out to everybody's home. This is
great.
It's insane. I couldn't believe it when he told me. I'm like,
Ipsos was born
this
in
is crazy.
1975.
Oh, what's it?
Oh, it's where marketing ideas were spreading in Europe. In the 80s, with the advancement of marketing practices and the explosion of consumer products, Ipsos took ownership of a selling proposition common to all researchers: clarity.
Okay, he's looking at that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
The 90s were a witness of Ipsos' worldwide expansion. In the area of Think Global, Ipsos adopted a
Think Global.
At Ipsos, we believe clients need more than a data supplier. They need an advisor who can find accurate and relevant information and turn it into actionable truth. We call it true understanding. To help our clients act faster, smarter, bolder. Because ultimately, success comes down to a simple truth.
Sounds like a bunch of commie gobbledygook.
Yeah, it really does. It's insane. That is insane. Again, it's just being mailed to people, and people, someone sent me $1 and they're offering me $600 in reward points. I've got to do this.
Look at the website right at the top, ESG.
Yeah.
It's right there. It's right there. It tells you.
It's crazy.
Especially being in the casino business. The word rewards. We give you reward points for losing your money.
Are you kidding me? The only reason I go to the casino right now is because I get a gas card.
Right. And I'm not lying. I've seen people lose tens of thousands of dollars
trying to reach
and
rewards.
not have enough rewards to go and get something to eat.
Oh no!
And
hit the buffet. I just lost my ass.
And they come, especially in a supervisory position. I've lost $10,000, and literally I seen them buy in and lose actual $10,000 worth of cash. And you're kidding me? You can't go get a pizza and take it with you home to try to explain to your wife why you lost your house payment. You can't even get a pizza.
Yeah.
No.
But and that's what they do. Sometimes for the gifts they give away is rewards. Well, we'll give you 8,000 rewards if you win the drawing, or free slot play and all this other stuff. And people fall for it. And again, I work in the casino business, and you have a giveaway on Sunday. And you give away American flags, the pencil stick, 2 foot long with American flag on it, free flags on Veterans Days. People will line up miles to get those free flags. Yep. And they can buy them at the Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
What are you unpatriotic? Do you not like the American flag?
Yeah,
I don't think that was the point to that.
But people just go nuts. Sometimes if they think they're getting something for free.
Look at the Obama phones.
Right.
Look at the Obama phones.
Oh my God.
Yeah. All of this stuff. It just lures people in. That's the point. That's what they're doing.
Especially, like say, I live like in the Baltimore area, that area, and some of the lower class neighborhoods, they do. You see a booth outside of like the train station, free phones, and they say only if you are on WIC or whatever program that you can get it. And they have the iPhones right there.
Again.
And, whatever you qualify for, as long as you
keep you on the program.
Incentivizing poverty.
Right,
That's what it is.
Yeah. You're better off if you're poor.
You're better off. You know how much? I mean, I don't know about you, Kyle, but I pay a pretty decent amount for my phone plan.
Well, I mean, we're pretty good now, but no, I've paid some decent phone bills in my life.
and that's the thing is you work. I'm just gonna say the same thing over and over, but it's just incentivizing that poverty, and they know that they'll get more out of you if you're poor. It's really frustrating, and we could talk about it for hours. But
yeah, we sure could. But I mean, I think this was a pretty good recap. On the year. I'd like to wish everybody kind of a happy New Year. And jump back into it. Like election year coming up, so it's going to be
that's
amazing.
Gonna be fun. That's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we've got lots of ideas out there, but again, give us more ideas. Whatever you guys want to hear us talk about, we'll talk about it. We don't care how controversial it is. We'll talk about it. But what are we drinking tonight, Kyle?
Well, so you brought over some Newcastle Brown Ale. It's actually pretty good here. I'd say it's a nice it's a sipping beer. Not too bitter. It's more of kind of a sweeter sipping beer, but it's not something you want to chug. But it's definitely something that hits really right. I like it. I really enjoyed it tonight.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I like this. I've had it before. It is definitely a more full-bodied beer, so it's not something that you're going to want to drink all night. And your belly will hate you for it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, yep. But it's a darker beer, so it's a more full-bodied, and it's really good. I enjoy it for occasions like this where we're just going to be sipping on stuff. It's pretty good. What are you drinking over there? I know you're not into the whole alcohol thing.
I am drinking the iconic White Monster.
There you go.
This I know you've probably all seen the thing where this is the devil's drink or whatever, but this is truly the nectar of the gods.
It's like my favorite one.
Yeah, it is.
It's the nectar of the gods. I drink it all the time.
Well,
I drink it way too much.
You know why it's the nectar of the gods?
Why?
Here we go.
Because it's straight from the teat of the devil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is. But again, my lifestyle. I always tell people at the casino. Especially we work for tips, and I say, you're doing the Lord's work in the devil's playhouse. We're up all night drinking, smoking, gambling, all that kind of stuff. And so my schedule is like different than most everybody. And my son, I've been here for the last week or so. He's like, "Oh, you're sleeping." I'm like, "Dude, this is my sleep time." I have blackout curtains in my room, and it's like a bat cave in there. So when the sun does come up, I don't even notice it because that's when I'm going to bed.
So
and
the monster that you're drinking is a necessity.
Right. So when I do finally wake up or whatever for the day, it's 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I usually go right for the Monster. I
wouldn't say that I go right for a beer when I wake up, but it's always good to have around,
Yeah, no,
it's good stuff.
After work, though.
Yeah.
That's what I go for.
Sure.
I was one of those people blessed with a bum pancreas or whatever, so I'm the diabetic, and
beer is not good for you.
I still remember my last few hangovers that I had, and I just it just got to the point where, especially the medicine that I take, the interaction with alcohol and everything, it's worse for me. I mean, everyone's different, but to start drinking alcohol and everything, my blood sugar it's worse than if I was sit here eat a box of Christmas cookies and stuff like that. My blood sugar goes crazy, and it does change the properties in your blood and all that stuff. I always got that.
We won't hold it against you that you're not drinking beer.
I am. I'm drinking in spirit, and I do go to a lot of seedy establishments that I shouldn't, and I'm mostly sober, and I do get the designated driver rule a lot, especially when I go and visit people in different places. And I don't mind that, but that's my drink. My go-to is the White Monster.
There you go.
I don't like the black monsters. I don't like the yellow monsters. I know it's racist.
I was gonna say.
We're bringing those is and isms in here.
The white one is the only one that I like, and it's sugar-free. So
no, there's something to it. A lot of people like the, and it is my favorite one too. If I'm reaching for a monster, it's the white one too.
I know why it's the white one.
Why?
I get it. No, I get it. Don't need to say anymore.
What's your favorite one? The yellow one?
Don't.
Well, in the famous words of Hunter Biden, no yellow.
Yeah.
No, oh,
and most people should know better because I normally date exclusively outside of my race, and especially when I'm at work. When there's a lot of different classes of people at my table, I get accused of that type of thing all the time.
Sure.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
I just lost $1,000. You're racist.
Yeah, it's his fault. He's racist. That's why he took all my money.
I like I say, if we have a podcast about the casino business and the casino industry, 8 hours I could probably do.
Oh, yeah.
I could sum up, what happened this week anyhow. But yeah, you just wouldn't believe. You just wouldn't believe it. I tell people all the time, and we laugh about it. We're like, we have to start the story saying, you won't believe this. I know you're not going to believe this, and you think I'm lying to you, but this is really happening. This is the ignorance of people.
Oh, yeah.
But there they are, giving us their paycheck every day.
Oh yeah.
It's not you guys that they're looking to be there for. It's the money.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So,
but they get rewards, so that's why they keep coming.
There you go.
You think I'm kidding?
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I know.
Gotta get that free burger basket.
Well, we'll close this one out. Thanks for coming on with us.
Okay. I feel very happy and very honored that I'm the first paid spokesman on your podcast.
Keep saying that.
I am setting the milestone.
Well, like I said, you'll get your payment when we're done with the episode.
So, you're saying you're glad we popped your cherry?
Something like that. Yeah. So now I can say I've done my first podcast.
Yep, and now you can start listening to them. You'll probably want to listen to your own, and then you can tell other people, hey, I was on this podcast. Check it out.
And maybe I should just start my own. There you go.
Yeah, you could.
There we go.
So, all right. Well, this has been Common Sense with Beer. Like we said, Happy New Year.
Stop. Stop. It is not Common Sense with Beer, you prick.
It is Common Sense and Beer.
Oh, it's Common Sense
Happy
and
New
Beer.
Year, everybody.
There was so
From
many
Common Sense and
yes,
Beer.
Happy New Year
And beer.
with Common Sense and Beer.